Hello YouTubers, how we doing today? Hope everybody's having a great Valentine's Day. To all you ladies out there, happy Valentine's Day. I hope you have a good one. I'm with you with I try to come on here every day with a how-to video, but lately it hasn't really been possible. There's been a lot going on in my life, so I apologize for the past few days being missing. I think what was it? Saturday I did 2 videos because I knew I wasn't going to make it Sunday because we were going to have a big day going to church. But then again, we got that bad storm up here. We got it was a bad ice storm. We had over almost a full inch of ice. So they canceled church. Not that we were going to try to go anyway, but and since then I just haven't been doing any videos. I haven't been feeling it, And so I'm coming back today. Anyway, today's how-to is going to be on the Quill Gordan emerger. And as you know, I just laid down a thread base, whatever you want to call it. And I am getting prepared to do the other things I need to do. And this pattern isn't necessarily what you're going to find if you search it. The shop that I'm tying for has certain flies that they do certain ways that sell for them. And that's what I'm trying to follow. And right here I have a little cape off the neck of a rooster cape. And they do a little white tail on their flies. And I'm trying to find the perfect feathers to represent that. I only need one. There we go. That's going to be perfect. This is being done on a size 14 1x length hook. And so I just cut one of those feathers out, which is right there. And of course you got to do the measuring. And I know that's about perfect. So it's time to wrap it in. I got a couple things that are getting in my way because with this big order back in my bedroom, I have a stand set up to tie at. And it takes away some of my tools, so I have to shuffle a few of them back and forth. And I just went to make the video a little bit ago and realized I didn't have everything I needed. So here we are again. I'm back at it again, and I'm going to get it right this time because I have everything. So as you guys know, I like to wrap my tail in. Usually I'll wrap it in about midway down the shaft of the hook, or shank, whatever you want to call it. Either way is fine, but I guess the technical word would be shank, yes. So anyhow, I got that back where I wanted it, and I'm going to come back up, and I will take it the whole way to the eye. And honestly, the usual reason why I do that is to help build a taper. Well, this little tiny skinny little feather isn't going to build me any taper. It's a habit, and at least I know that that's tied in there really, really well. So now that I got that done, I'm going to take a piece of 0.3 millimeter copper wire, which is the diameter. I use 0.2 and 0.3. It depends on the size of the fly. And that's going to get wrapped in all the way back to where where the end of the shank of the hook, or should I say where the tail starts off the hook. Sometimes I'll go a little bit beyond the shank. Sometimes I shoot a little less depending on whether it's dry fly or nymph. Well, this is an emerger, so it's basically like a nymph for me. So I do bring it back pretty far. Just as long as I don't bend that tail down, I'm good. And then I'll take it back up front all the way again. Just because, I don't know, I like a nice full base of thread. That way nothing's going to slip on me or any kind of stupid stuff. I almost said a bad word, guys. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it back down to about the midway point. And this is where I'm going to tie in a piece of... Did I already pull some off and cut it? No, I didn't. I use a lot of dirty bug yarn because I'm not going to say I don't like doing dubbing. When I'm production tying, if I have the right color of dirty bug yarn here, which in almost every case I do, that's what I use, is the dirty bug yarn. It's just a lot quicker than making a dubbing noodle. Because when I make my dubbing noodles, I wax my thread before I put the dubbing on. And then I put the dubbing on real thin because I feel less is more. So I'll build really small noodles until I get it to the bulk, get it bulk to the size I want. And I usually put the taper right on the thread. Like, it'll be thinner at the top where I'm starting to put my dubbing, and as I go down, I get it a little thicker because that's, automatically builds a taper for me. So anyhow, finally got the thread tied in. I got my copper in there for the segmentation already done. I'm going to snip this out. Okay, so I'm going to turn my camera a little bit this way and maybe move this back just a little bit so you guys can see what's up a little bit better. Maybe move this a little closer. There we are. Okay, so there we go. And at this point, I like to go through and make sure I pull any extra fibers out of the way that are going to cause more than a buggy look. You know, I like a little bit of a buggy look sometimes, not always. But if I do use a buggy look, I don't like it to be ridiculously buggy. So I'm going to take my time and I'm going to lay touching wraps of this yarn all the way to about 3/4 of the way up the hook, because I'm going to need room to tie in the emerger shuck and build a little bit of a head on. I'm going to go right there. I could have went one more wrap, but I didn't feel like it was a good idea, so I'm just stopping. And then what I like to do is I like to even this up as I wrap the thread backwards a little bit, and then spin my jaws around because this was on the bottom and I want to cut it nice and close. I find that if I touch my thread, especially with these Flysmith scissors, that usually gets me in trouble. It'll cut right through my thread as well, because you know these scissors are just looking to cut anything that's in their way. They're so darn sharp, it's crazy. Okay, so I'm coming back to where my body stopped on my way up the hook. I'm going to quit right there. I'm going to go ahead and wrap my segmentation in. I like to start real close to the back of the body and then work my way up. I like to have pretty close wraps, but not super close wraps. You don't want to make it look unrealistic. You know, I'm trying to make it look as natural as I can. I'm not saying this is a realistic fly. When it's done, it does look pretty nice, though. I mean, you know what? I'm going to unwrap this one because I was a little too close. I'm going to go there. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. Right there. And then I just take my thread and kind of wrap it around take my copper and wrap it around my thread. I was saying that backwards, which, you know, I'm kind of a backwards individual anyway. So now I'm going to do this. I'm going to wrap up through here. Stop for a second. Turn my jaws upside down because that's where it tied off. That's where it stopped. And I don't want to have to fuss with trying to hide a piece of copper wire. That tends to happen. If you leave it stick up to, it'll cut your thread in most cases. So there's that. Trying to pick out a lot of that extra hair. That looks pretty good the way it is. So now I'm going to come back right to where I was before I wrapped that wire in. I'm going to stop right about there. And I need a piece of mallard flank. Take one of the whole feathers. Make sure it's one that's long enough to do what I need it to do, which this one will be absolutely perfect. I'll get rid of that CDC on the side, which is called Cul de Canard. It's very good for floating flies and stuff. They use them on the collars of dry flies a lot. I've seen people use it for a lot of stuff, but yeah, that's one of the main things. And then what I'll do is I like to get my finger and thumb just a little moist and pull this back. And I'll go back and I'll pull it back again. Grab a hold of it and measure it to where I think I need it to be, which is about right there. Grab it with this hand, and I will do a pinch wrap to wrap it in like that. There it is, and then I'll hold on to it, because if you don't, it can still spin around the shaft of the hook. Even though you have a bed there, it can still do it. Trust me, it's happened. I'm going to leave that the way it is just for a minute because I don't want to let go of this yet, because I also feel that the more you hold it in your other hand, the materials, the closer they're going to be held together as you tie them instead of fraying out. And on one of these, you kind of want this to stay together as nice as possible. There's that. That's a beautiful, beautiful shuck. And then I'll get in there and get a nice close cut with this. And see, I have a little bit left. I did that on purpose because I don't want to cut my thread. I've been doing that left and right on these patterns. So what I'll do is I'll wrap this in. Not a big deal. Not hard to do at all. And if there is a little bit left, you don't really need to worry about it. You can always use a lighter at the end and hold your fingers over the materials and light it and burn those out of the way. Or you can use a cauterizing tool. I would recommend any tyer out there to get themselves a cauterizing tool, because they help a lot. Okay, so next is on this pattern. On this pattern, we have to do a, what do we call that? It's kind of almost like it's a wet fly like type collar. And I will go in and I will pick all this stuff out to get down to the bare stem. And I like to leave a little bit of extra room, so I'll pick more feathered, or more of the, what do they call that? I'm trying to think of the word for it. When you're wrapping, anyhow, these fibers that stick out, I pull them out and I get it down to where, as you can see, I have a good bit of stem there, and it gives me something to tie in with, and it also, I leave a little bit of that towards the back. And as I'm wrapping, as I'm palmering the hackle in, it also gives me a little bit of bare stem to start the wrap, and that's very beneficial to me. I don't know, it helps me make a much cleaner wrap. So I'm going to do my best to thin that out and make that look real nice and even. I'm going to go right behind the, well, I don't want to go right behind the hook. I do want to come up a little bit, so I'll go to about right there, because there's no reason to, you only need like 3 wraps. And then I stand it up and see I still have bare stem down here, which means I can turn this and finagle it whichever way I want to get a nice even wrap. Like that. It'll stand them perfectly up. That was one wrap. There's my second wrap. And there's my third. And I will stop there and go around my thread, or should I say take my thread around the stem of the grizzly hackle, and then I'll wrap back towards that. And I see an issue already. I'm going to have to grab my fly and tilt it up a little bit so the thread doesn't keep trying to jump off the eye. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to wrap it backwards again. Right there, right there. There we are. And then I'll get in there with these scissors and get a nice close snip. As long as it allows me to get a nice close snip. Right. Oh. There it is. And I'll save this. I can do about 4 or 5 flies of these emergers with one piece of that grizzly hackle. And you don't have to worry about having the extra stuff there, and I'll show you why here in a minute. I just burned that out. And I'm going to stop, get the handy dandy whip finisher out, get in there, and I like to make anywhere between 3 and 5 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go 5 just to go backwards on the, it makes a better knot. The only thing that's bad is sometimes it'll get too tight, and then you have a heck of a time trying to pull your thread through itself. Get right up there like that. And I don't even think I have my lighter out here right now. Okay, so next best thing, I guess. Here. Pull that back. I'm going to try to find my... I have another. Right there it is. There it is. So what I will do is I will heat this up a little bit and it'll turn red, and I can get right in there and burn all those fibers right out of there. And I'll come up and I'll get right around the eye of the hook too. Burn all that stuff out of there. That way the fishermen that get this is going to be able to stick their tippet through with no troubles. Sometimes what's bad about it is it'll unwrap your thread a little bit, but these are the breaks. This is what happens. Sometimes, not all the time. And because I want to have a nice clean head, I'm going to use resin instead of head cement. And I'll pull this back and make sure that I'm right on the thread only. Do that. Do that. Do this. And then I'm going to go ahead and cure it. Right there. It looks real good. That's a nice looking. So there you have it, you guys. That is called the Quill Gordan Emerger. And that's going to go in the bucket here to go into my stuff on shop I'm tying for. And yeah, there it is. That's it. The Quill Gordan merger. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you want to, like the video. If not, the most important thing is subscribe to me. That would be great. I'd appreciate it. You guys have a good day. God bless.